Om Sri Sai Ram. Loving Sai Ram from Prasanthi Nilayam from all of us at the Sri Sathya Sai Media Center. The month of April has begun, and in a few days from now, we will be observing Aradhana Day. Aradhana Day every year brings very intense emotions. People who have been with Swami, who have seen Swami, who have had the opportunity to taste the nectar of the physical proximity of Swami, it becomes very, very difficult to console your heart, console your mind. You want to cry. You have cried a lot, but still something within still does not agree. Nevertheless, for all of us, the Aradhana Day is a day of deep reflection, deep introspection, because one begins to think, where am I as a devotee, as a follower, as someone who loves Swami? Bhagawan came, he spent 86 years for you, for me. He poured so much love. But where am I today vis-a-vis where I would want to be? At the same time, there are so many new devotees who are discovering Swami. People who are now learning about Bhagavan, and the curiosity is so high. They have so many questions. They come to Prasanthi Nilayam. They have one darshan and they feel, why did I not come here before? This is what we experience every single day, every single instance. We have an opportunity to talk to so many devotees, artists, distinguished people. This is what they always say. Why didn't we know of him before? And many of them secretly pray and wish that if only we could get one more chance to be with Swami, one more chance to see him, one more chance to maybe interact with him, maybe ask these questions, this question which is there in my heart for decades. And that's what happens whenever new people come. They always have so many internal things to get clarified. And if you look at all the devotees that have come to Bhagavan over the years, Bhagavan was very, very gracious to answer all these questions. And that is how you have these books, Conversations with Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba by Dr. Hislop. You have, you take Sri Sathya Sai Anandadai, you take Satyopanishad, where Professor Anil Kumar has compiled in volumes all the conversations that he has had with Bhagavan. Almost every book of Bhagavan where somebody has had time with Swami, they have asked questions, and Swami has been very, very gracious answering all these questions. But there are also some rare occasions when some journalists had the opportunity to ask some questions to Bhagavan. And Professor Kasturi, in the fourth volume of Satyam Shivam Sundaram, the final volume that Professor Kasturi worked on, the last chapter is dabbling and diving. And I think that's a very, very significant phrase. We'll come back to that in our conversation again. Dabbling and diving. In that, Professor Kasturi mentions about one Mr. R.K. Karanjia, who was an investigative journalist. He started the Bliss magazine way back in the 40s. And, he was the founding editor, and he was at the helm of affairs in this tabloid for decades. And sometime in the early 70s, he had some articles published about Bhagavan. At that time, he had not known Swami. Some of his reporters sent some information, and which was not in good taste, but he had no clue, and he had published them. And later on, when people confronted him, he said, as a true investigative journalist, let me go to Prasanthi Nilayam, let me firsthand see Bhagavan, let me find out for myself. And that experience, he says, was absolutely fantastic. He says it was shattering. That's the word he uses. It was a very, very shattering experience for me, because it really brought to smithereens all the viewpoints that had been told to him when he went to Bhagavan. And that is when he says he realized that Swami is a scientist of consciousness and whose only purpose is to ensure that the God in every person incarnates. And he said Swami is doing it through love, through devotion, through inculcating desirelessness, detachment in every person, so that everyone is propelled to move towards a higher level of enlightenment. He said Swami is only working for the enlightenment of every person. So that was the conclusion that Mr. Karanjia gave, and he was very, very blessed because Swami gave him an extended interview in which he asked many questions. And we thought for this satsang, we will take some of these questions because the answers that Bhagawan gave, as always, were so powerful. They were revelatory, regenerating, and in fact liberating. And so we thought we will make that as the subject of today's satsang.
Wonderful. And it was nothing short of an epic moment.
Yes.
Right? A journalist coming and being challenged that you are not being true to your profession of journalism.
Correct.
That you should go and look for yourself. There's a beautiful quote which is very popular right now in the internet. It says, be curious, not judgmental.
Correct.
Right? So it says, because if you're curious, your mind will be open. If you're judgmental, your mind will be closed. And for anyone who is willing to be curious, I think Swami was willing to reveal his nature and his mission, perhaps, to the person. And that's what happened with Mr. Karanjia. And beautifully, he comes back, after having published a series of very skeptical pieces on Bhagwan, he comes back and writes this article and he titles it, God Lives in India.
Yes.
And how beautiful it is. And even as you were telling about many new devotees coming and discovering Swami, especially coming to Prasanthi Nilayam and finding a new home where they did not actually hope to find one, in the first place. This title still is true, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
It is not, he lived. God lives in India, because many devotees come and discover Swami and he is there. And this format, we might look at it and say that this is a journalist asking questions and Swami taking the interviewee's seat and giving answers. But from Swami's point of view, this is pretty much what he has been doing from ages.
Exactly.
As a guru, right? Some of the most important Upanishads have this format of a curious disciple coming and asking questions and the devotee answering it. And we've heard Swami speak about the importance of pariprashna, coming and asking the right questions and eliciting profound answers from the guru. And this conversation, like many others that you mentioned, Satya Upanishad or the conversations with Hislop, are very important for devotees, because none of us can claim after 2 decades, 3 decades or 4 decades of association with Swami that we know Swami.
Yes.
Right. Right?
Yes.
And none of us can claim that we don't know Swami either, because Swami is no different from our own self. But that's the beauty, all of these conversations. And that's why, dear listeners, we thought it's important to go back into this. This interview was done in 1976, the September 1976. Exactly 50 years, because we are sitting in 2026. Exactly 5 decades after this interview was done, we are revisiting it. And it is as profound and relevant as it was then as it is today. He asks a lot of questions. And one of the first questions that he asks about is the triple incarnation, right? Because that's a very curious thing. Swami has come, he has declared himself as the avatar of the age. Why would he attribute his avatar and connect it to the Baba of Shirdi? And that is what he starts with. But when Swami starts talking about the nature of an avatar, I think then the conversation shifts towards that. When he asks this question, what is the role of an avatar? Why should God come down in a human form? I think that is the first question that he asks. And the answers that Swami gives are so beautiful. We are not anyone to qualify Swami's answers. But when you read it, it really thrills your heart. And one of the first statements that Swami makes in reply to that is, because that is the only way to incarnate the God within man. Right? What a beautiful point. He says, Swami doesn't say that I've come to set right things, I've come to set up institutions, this and that. He says, whenever God comes down in a human form, he does so because that is the only way divinity can incarnate within each man. Right? What a beautiful point. And when you look at it, when I was looking at the statement, what else can be the purpose of an avatar? Right? We have a purpose. Every human being has a purpose. There's a purpose to life. The purpose of the avatar can only be the same as that, to enable us to move towards that purpose of our life. How can it be anything different from that? And how trivial of us if we approach him and ask for anything else. And there is this beautiful episode, we might have related this before, where one of our seniors who had the opportunity to do that interview room duty, as we would call it, a couple of students would be given that opportunity to assist Swami in the interview room, set things right when Swami would come out, arrange water for Swami and keep the letters which Swami would read. Typically during this time when this student served Swami, the schedule that Swami would follow is, after Swami has finished his dinner and all of that, he would sit there and read a few letters before Swami retires for the day. And that itself is a telling thing about Swami's schedule. That was Swami's pastime. That was Swami's main preoccupation through the day. And Swami would do that just like how some of us probably read a book before we go to sleep. Swami would sit and read the letters of devotees. So there were two students who were sitting and, pressing Swami's feet. Sometimes Swami would hand them a letter and say, give it to the trust. Or then give it to them and say that, give it to me tomorrow. Instructions based on whatever letter Swami was reading. But that day, Swami was extremely absorbed. So much so that he did not speak even a word to the two students who were there. And Swami sat for much longer than he usually does. So probably well into 9:30, which was very odd for Swami's schedule, because Swami, we all know, retires quite early. But that day Swami was sitting and reading letter after letter, but wasn't speaking anything, was so absorbed in that letter. And these two boys were sitting there. In their day's schedule, it ends with Swami giving them a Pad Namaskar before he retires. And for them, that was the special thing, that they were getting the last Pad Namaskar of the day. So they were sitting there, and when Swami is quiet, you don't break his silence. Right? So they were just waiting for the whole...
Dare not break his silence.
And at the end of it, Swami had a bunch of letters in his hand, which he, with a sigh of exasperation, he put it on the stool that was next to him. He put it down like that. And then Swami started speaking. And when they paid attention, they realized that Swami was actually speaking to himself. Swami was not telling them anything. And Swami said, any letters, so many letters I read today. And Swami said, every letter, Idikavali, I want this, I want that. Swami said, korikalu. Desires, prayers for different things. And then Swami, in a very reflective tone, Swami said, not even one letter that said, thank you, Swami. Right? There was no one letter which said, expressing gratitude. So that was one part of what Swami wanted to convey to the students there. Right? It was a lesson that Swami was giving, the importance of gratitude. But then after that, Swami got up and started walking and continuing his loud conversation with himself. And these students, as I said, they were keen on getting that last Pad Namaskar. So they were kneeling down and literally walking along with Swami. And what they heard was so profound. Swami said a thing that we've heard Swami tell on other occasions too. Swami said, I've come with a huge plane. I've come to take all of you to my plane of existence, my plane of consciousness. Swami says, I've come with a huge plane. I'm standing there at the door with the doors wide open. But nobody is willing to get in. Everybody is saying, Swami, I want this, I want that, I want my daughter to get married, I want a seat in this college. Swami said, I think by the time I leave, there will hardly be 4 or 5 people who are willing to get into the plane. And he was saying this, and he just, Swami walked off. He was in a different mood, and this student was saying that, that day we did not get the customary Pada Namaskar, but what we got from Swami was so much more profound food for thought. If you really look at it, If Swami has brought a intergalactic plane, right, which can take you from one loka to the other, from the Boer loka to the Suar loka or even beyond, and we come up to the plane and say, Swami, can you drop me at that, bus stand or the nearby railway station, right? We're using what Swami has brought for a convenience. He has come to give us release from this samsara, but we are asking for conveniences. So that's it's a timeless statement that we have to keep remembering. He has come because he has come to make himself incarnate within each one of us.
Very, very powerful. In fact, while that is the divine agenda, how did he go about doing it? Because at one level, if Swami is divine and in bliss and aloof from everybody all the time, there is no way of connecting to him. And the very next statement, very beautifully, Swami says, the avatar takes the human form and behaves in a human way so that humanity can feel kinship with divinity. And I think that is exactly what Swami did. Probably that is one of the reasons why we don't realize why Swami has come. What is it that he wants to give us? There's some very beautiful 2-3 recollections, which, how he breaks the ice. Like there is this beautiful incident narrated by Srimati Kannamma and Sathya Sai Anandadai. This is their first visit to Prasanthi Nilayam. This is 1946. And so when they come, they are already in awe of Swami, and they are, taken aback. He's so sweet, so approachable, yet there is something. So that balance of who he is, how do we deal with him, how do we interact with him? And so they said the very next day, the first day they had come and had darshan, the very next day, Swami casually walks up into their room or area where they were staying. And Swami says, can I wash my face? So immediately she was there around and she said, yes, Swami. And so Swami just splashed water on his face, and she handed over a towel and Swami wiped his face. And then suddenly Swami was so accessible and just like a loving friend or like a loving mother. And she said, Swami, why didn't you take a she form? Why did you take a he form? You are so loving like a mother. You should have come in a she form. And Swami just smiled. And then Swami asked her a question. See, the purpose of coming to her room and washing his face is not to wash his face. Yes. So he asked her a question. He asked, so what did you think of me when you first saw me?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Swami, I thought that here is a great Mahatma, is a great person. Swami said, no, you didn't think that. Then she was taken aback because the first time she's facing something like this. And Swami said, the first time you saw me, you thought that if he is really God, he should know exactly what's going on in our minds. Otherwise, he's just like a Siddha Purusha. He's just like a Siddha Purusha. So, isn't that what you thought? And she was like completely transfixed. So, he gives that kinship. He gives that. I remember there's a beautiful video, I think shot somewhere in the early 1990s. Very, very beautiful. How Swami speaking to some school students. In fact, two of them are my classmates. And we were in our 9th standard. And Swami is standing in the veranda. And one of the boys, he says, Swami, I want Pada Namaskar. Swami says, why Pada Namaskar? For fighting with all other boys? Fight karta hai. He goes to the hostel, he fights, and he hits also some boys. And you should see how animated his expression is. Here is the Lord of the Universe standing with so much of expression and so much of involvement. And he's saying, no, I will not give you Pada Namaskar. Why? For fighting you want Pada Namaskar? And then that boy is saying, sorry, Swami. And then Swami said, okay, now promise me. And he puts his hand out. And he tells him, you promise me that you will not fight with other boys. So then he actually puts his hand and promises Swami. Swami says, now you take Namaskar. And how does Bhagawan break the ice? To a spiritual aspirant, he reveals something which is subtle, which is in their mind. To the student, he reveals like a friend. He says, see, don't fight. be good. And then, I mean, it is not like this was like a during certain period in his life. This is how he was throughout. I remember a very beautiful, very simple incident which happened in Harshi. So in 2009, so Swami was on the terrace, and Swami was just taking a round on the terrace, and everybody was around, and the family that had built the temple, all of them were around, and the Jadhav family, and Swami was just there was a Ganesha with an umbrella. Swami is looking at it, and one of the family members told Swami, there is a guest house. So right opposite Swami's mandir, there was a guest house. And Swami said, very nice. He said, Swami, and Swami, there's a swimming pool also. And Swami said, oh, very nice. I said, Swami, but we built the swimming pool for you. Very innocently, he said, Swami, we built the swimming pool for you. And we thought that when Swami feels comfortable, he can swim in the swimming pool. You know, anybody else in that place say, don't you know, this is 2009. I cannot have that kind of freedom which you all have. I cannot go out. But what was Swami's answer? Swami's answer was so beautiful. He said, see, now I don't want to swim. But if you had given me many years before, I would have beaten all of you in swimming. I would have gone around so fast. I was so fast in swimming. So these are the ways in which he breaks the ice. He breaks the ice and makes us feel that he is one amongst us. So once we feel that kinship and closeness, then he takes us to the next level.
Really very beautiful. And I think that is the charm, that is the magic of an avatar, right? We have all these beautiful, sweet moments. In fact, when you think about it, that is the sole purpose of the avatar, to fill us with that sweetness. While we have that the purpose of the avatar, as is mentioned in the Gita, is to protect the good and, to vanquish the evil. While that is there, but I think the most beautiful part is to ensure that we feel so attached, we are so drawn to him that nothing of the world anymore feels anything that can pull us, because we feel that we have tasted something so sweet. And I think that is the enviable and the most blissful thing of having God in human form. And as you very beautifully said, when the divine comes in a human form, there is the Jiva Pragya and Deva Pragya, as Swami says, Jiva Pragya to Deva Pragya. So he comes with human consciousness as well as divine consciousness. And that is a beautiful blend, because only if he has that blend can we approach and can we feel one with Bhagawan. At the same time, there are times when Swami ensures that we don't get too much carried away, because if we don't use that opportunity to elevate ourselves, and the whole purpose of the avatar also is again gone. He did not come just to play with us. He has come so that even as we play, we learn how to grow. And I think that is the sole purpose. I'm reminded of one incident that happened in the Kodaikanal. This is the month when Swami used to go to Kodaikanal in the month of April 99, and there was this very senior devotee, a Rajmata, who was with Bhagawan, and so it was time for everyone to go and have their lunch, and everybody was going inside, and Swami was asking all the ladies also to go. And then Swami started a casual conversation with this very senior devotee, and Swami asked, how old are you? and this Rajmata said, Swami, I am only 5 months younger to you. And Swami said, no. She said, no, Swami, I am 5 months younger. And then she started giving the dates. 1926, I am also 1926, and you are in November, I am in July, and all that she started saying. I said, no. And then Swami said, see, you are 5 months younger to this body. I am ageless. I am ageless. There are these moments when he just makes you pause and he makes you really reflect. I feel that also is what is the relationship that was there between Krishna and Arjuna, Bhaya and Bhakti. Krishna was a friend of Arjuna. At the same time, he ensured that Arjuna was also devoted, so that humility is always there, so that whenever Krishna is imparting something very profound, he does not take it in the light way. And I think that is the very beautiful role that Bhagawan played. There's another similar moment in Kodaikanal. So this was, I think, in the year 2006. Boys had reached Kodaikanal 2 days into the Kodai sessions. Everybody is waiting for the beautiful things that will unfold. Kodaikanal is literally Bhagwan's playground. There are so many materializations. You have chances of photographs with Swami. You can go out with Swami, shopping, etc., boating. So everybody is waiting for that. Second day, Swami is sitting and having this session with all the students. Swami is telling, enough, let's go back. And it's like, Swami, we will just come. I said, no, we'll go back. And everybody's shocked. They thought, we don't know what mistake we have done. Swami, please, Swami, Initially they thought Swami is joking. But Swami's face became really serious. And we said, no, we'll go back. Now everybody thought, something needs to be done. It is really serious. Swami said, let's pack the bags. We'll go off tomorrow. And so, one teacher got up and he said, Swami, please forgive us, Swami. What mistake have we done? We do not know, Swami. Please forgive us. Swami said, nothing. We are going back. And then this boys got up. This teacher again, he got up. He said, Swami, we will give our life for you, Swami, please. And Swami asked, is this life yours? Is this life yours? And I think these are those moments, that you experience when you have the divine. He fills you with that sweetness. At the same time, he raises you. And that's why the third statement that Swami says is, at the same time, when the divine comes in a human form, he rises to godly heights so that mankind also can aspire to reach God. And I think that is what happens when an avatar comes. Every time you take him lightly, he ensures that you take that step on the spiritual path towards your enlightenment.
Right. I mean, it's a beautiful protocol that Swami is following. Right.
Yeah.
First of all, you think God is above and beyond you. Then he comes and creates this kinship. There are a lot of students, especially those who have been fortunate enough to be born into Sai families. There was one senior who was narrating about that. You're born into a family where you've seen Swami's picture in the altar from the time you were born, from the time you're a toddler. And eventually you become a student of Swami. So he says, when I came to Swami's fold and as a student, I couldn't even make eye contact with him. Because he's the form that I've been worshipping from childhood.
Yeah.
And systematically Swami broke that, the ice in that sense. Because Swami made him believe that, here is a Swami, you can come and open up your heart and you can demand from Swami and you can be upset with him when he doesn't answer your prayers.
Yes.
And that is how he rebuilt that relationship. But then that statement which Swami is making is so profound, right? He makes you feel that he is one amongst you.
Yes.
Then he shows you that he is not really one among you.
Yes.
And it is not to just fill you with awe,
Yes.
so that you raise yourself to that level. There was this beautiful episode which another senior was narrating. I think the students had come up with this idea that they wanted to do a Kavi Sammelan in front of Swami. I'm not too sure whether it's the same Kavi Sammelan Bishu was part of sometime in the 90s. And I think Swami came to the auditorium and attended the Kavi Sammelan. Then Swami said he wants it. He was so impressed and liked it so much that he wanted to be done in Purnachandra auditorium. And Swami was very happy with all the poems that were rendered by the students. One particular Swami was very fond of. So one day what happened was the former president of India, I think at that time he was the serving president, Shankar Dayal Sharma had come. And he was himself a very literary person, a literary giant. So Swami came that day and Swami was going up and down the portico looking for one particular student. Everybody is wondering whom Swami is looking for. And then Swami came to one student and said, hey, you're sitting here, come. And this boy turned out to be the boy who read out the poem in Hindi. Right? So Swami liked his poem a lot. Swami wanted him to recite that poem in front of Shankar Dayal Sharma.
Okay.
So Swami said, come with me, and brought him to President. He said, he's written a very nice poem in Hindi. You recite that poem. So imagine Swami standing there and this boy is reciting this poem which he had written in Hindi in front of none less than the President of India. And Swami was listening to it with the pride of a mother and all that. And he says that at one particular point he had written, I'm just trying to recollect the exact words in Hindi. He says, "Hame mukt kara de, wo mukti dene wale," or something like that. He had written. And the moment he recited that line, Swami became very serious. But Swami said, "What is this? What have you written?" He said, "Swami, this is the same thing I've recited in front of you twice." And Swami is asking, "Kya mukti? What mukti are you talking about?" And this boy was, "Do you want mukti now?" Swami asked him. And he said there was so much fury in Swami's eyes, he for a moment thought that Swami is going to grant it right away. And so I said, "What mukti are you asking about?" And then Swami looked at him and Swami said, "You are Satchidananda. Don't forget that." Right? What liberation? Liberation for what? For whom? You are that Satchidananda Murti. You are that Satchidananda Swarupa. Don't forget that. Right? In a very short span, how like from the mother, Swami transforms into that guru who reminds you that you are not this small entity. You're not this small self. And that's why the other statement that Swami makes is the realization of the indwelling God as the motivator of life is the task for which avatars come in a human form. Because this is something that we've seen, that in the presence of the avatar, simple individuals, normal individuals raise to heights which otherwise we wouldn't have imagined. Right? Today we read the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and for us, all of those are great characters. Right? The Hanuman or the Vanaras who are participating in the war, or if you look at the Mahabharata or the Bhagavatam, the Gopikas and all of them, we look at all of them as stellar characters. But when that story was happening, they were all simple individuals, right? Who did not know that they were capable of such heights.
Correct.
And the reminder that you are capable of such things, and also the reminder that it is He who is motivating that power from within you. And because all of us have seen that, right?
Yes.
I'm sure that all of us will be able to say this, that we are performing way better than what we would have otherwise performed. And if we are wise enough, this is not humility, as I say, this is honesty and wisdom, we will attribute it to Swami and not claim it to ourselves. And that is, we've seen that in various places. The lot of simple individuals who would have otherwise been a clerk in a government, a humble housewife, but who raised to such stellar roles, be it in Swami's organizations or institutions, merely because Swami has said that you do this.
Correct.
And they look back and say that, "Oh my God, I never thought I was capable of achieving so much." And the constant reminder that this is Swami who's doing it. There's this beautiful conversation that, I think I've already made reference to this multiple times, where there was this very senior devotee of Swami, one of the initial members of Swami's organization, those who were responsible in building Swami's organization. Enormous wisdom Swami has gifted them, right? And why Swami has set up this organization, how he wants this organization to function. But he also happened to be a professional doctor, a medical doctor by profession. So he was finding it very hard to live or balance these two lives. One as a very successful doctor, a very sought after doctor, and at the same time one of the initial members of the organization. So he said that multiple times he would come to Swami and say, "Swami, I'm not able to balance these two things. If you permit, I will give up my profession. I will be, completely focused on Swami's work." And Swami said, No, you're a doctor. That is also Swami's work. How can you give that up? See, you can, I am building a hospital here and I am giving the opportunity for so many medical professionals to do Swami's work. You are by profession a doctor, you should not give that up. So then on another occasion, he came and asked Swami, "Swami, can I at least then give this duty of the organization to some other person and concentrate on my medical profession?" Swami said, No, this also you have to do. So he said, "Swami, what is it for you? Right? Your work, your institution. even if you make a broomstick stand there, it is going to do your work.
Correct.
Right? With a lot of sincerity and humility, he said that, Swami, even if you put a broomstick there, it's going to do your work. Swami looked at him and said, "Oh, na, then you be that broomstick." Right? And he was stunned when Swami said this. How easy for us it is to be humble. But in the process of that humility, we forget that we are capable of so much, because it is the same Swami who is going to motivate and be the doer in us. And Swami, so beautiful, no? Why can't you be that broomstick? You have so much confidence that even a broomstick can accomplish Swami's work. Why can't you be that broomstick? I think so beautifully, in just a few profound statements, Swami is laying out what an avatar comes to do. And when you read this, so many examples in Swami's devotees' lives, how he has achieved this through each one of us.
See, one more incident, I'm reminded of Kodaikanal, just to bring out this aspect of how Bhagawan is inspiring the true potential in us. So this was an occasion when the Kodai session was ending, and so before Bhagawan leaves, Swami would always give everyone a lot of gifts. The watchman, the washermen, the police, the security people, everyone would be loaded with gifts, and gifts that they would have never imagined in their lives. Swami would create diamond rings for the washermen. We have seen all of that. And so this was one occasion when Swami had called all the police people. They were all sitting in the bhajan hall, and Swami had told boys to make some packs for all these people. And Swami went to the bhajan hall, and Swami just cast his glance, and he returned. And Swami said, "How many are there?" So the boys had made some 20 packs, but actually 100 police people were there. So Swami said, "Can you make more?" So the boy said, "Yes, Swami, we'll immediately make, Swami. So another 80 Swami, we'll make." So Swami said, "Okay, you start making." But the only question was, whenever Swami gave clothes, Swami would always give money. And Swami would always give an envelope. Stitching charges would always accompany the gift of clothes. And nobody had money. The students, none of them have purses sitting in Kodaikanal. And there were only few elders. So nobody knew how to solve that issue. So Swami just looked at everyone. Swami said, "Okay, I'll go for darshan and come. You make the packs ready." So the boys immediately made another 80 packs. And Bhagawan came back after a quick round. And after he returned, his hand was full of letters. Swami came and stood in front of a person, a senior devotee, who was the one who was very active in trying to see, how much each person is having, among the few elders, so that they can, somehow put together another 80 envelopes. So he was very, very concerned that we should have those 80 envelopes. So Swami came, Swami stood right in front of this person. And as Swami was there holding all the letters, one envelope dropped right in front of him. And Swami said, "Pick that." So he picked and he was giving it to Swami. Said, No, open that envelope." So he opened that envelope. When he opened that envelope, he was shocked. He was delighted. He didn't know how to express his emotions, because exactly the money that was needed to make another 80 envelopes was there in that cover. And he was really so grateful the way everything worked out. And then, this is not the end of the story. Swami said, "You know what? I did not use my divine power to get this money. This is nothing to do with my divine power." And Swami makes that statement. Whenever you have an unquenchable thirst to do good for society, whenever you have this intense desire to do something absolutely selflessly for others, Swami said, the forces of nature will wrap around you to make it happen. And I think that's a very, very powerful statement that Bhagavan gave. And I think it's so many of our devotees, so many of our sevadals, so many initiatives and Sathya Sai organizations, people who have been at the helm of affairs can vouch for it, how you had nothing. But when you started with a pure intention, everything happens. But I think that is how Bhagavan is inculcating through his life in us, that you have to cultivate this selflessness. You have to cultivate this spirit of sacrifice. When you do that, you will divinize your life. You will see that you will become the medium for miracles to happen within you, isn't it?
Very true, because as Prem was just narrating about the incident from the organization, in connection to the organization, I remember Professor Venkatraman sharing one of those days in Brindavan. Swami had gone for breakfast, and there were 2-3 people from the organization, the overseas organization, and they had some questions. So they were asking Swami, when we do seva, can we have the boy students and the girl students working together, because it's very difficult? And Swami said no. And then Swami made a very interesting statement. He said, mine is not a seva organization. Mine is a spiritual organization where seva is one of the means. So when we say that God is a motivator of life, and the task of, that is the task he has come. He's come to motivate us in the right manner. What is the method he goes about? He has come with the power of the, as he says, the formless God. He has come with a complete power. He can take that beautiful clip in Kodaikanal where he says, I can turn the earth into sky and the sky into earth, like the way you flip a chapati. So Swami says, the way you flip a chapati, I can turn the earth
In fact,
into
Swami,
sky.
on one Korea occasion, Swami told, I can make a boy into girl and a girl into boy. Swami asked, are you ready to volunteer? Swami asked a student.
But then Swami says, but that is not my way. That is not my way. And this is what Swami has told even in the discourses, that these powers are not for pradarshana. This is for nidarshana, and this is not for showing. It's not for showing. When a group of scientists had come and they wanted to conduct experiments under controlled parameters, Swami said, no, this power is, you cannot, condition this power. It comes spontaneously as an expression of love. And so you cannot condition and you cannot measure these things. So, of course, the power of the formless God, here Swami is saying, therefore, in my present avatar, I have come armed with the fullness of the power of the formless God to correct mankind, raise human consciousness, and put people back on the right path of truth, righteousness, peace, and love to divinity. So here is somebody who has come with the infinite power. But what is the method he chooses? So, if it is just a benediction, if it's just a glimpse, he just gives you a glimpse of the infinite power. But what is the impact of that in your life? Has it transformed you? Are you convinced about it? Or are you going again and again seeking for more miracles? And I think in that sense, in one of the Vahinis, there's a beautiful statement. Swami says, God is like the powerful sun, and he is waiting right at your doorstep. But you have to open the door, or you have to open the window. He's waiting there. And unless you open the window, your room will not be flooded with light. So I think in the same way, when he says, I have come to correct man by raising human consciousness, he is not come to correct us by showing the power of divinity. He is not coming here to show his power of divinity and amaze and, leave us in a state of awe. Yes, that does happen initially. But the purpose behind that is to transform us. And I think that is where the method that he has chosen is to raise the human consciousness and put people back on the right path of truth, righteousness, peace, and love to divinity.
And it's a very beautiful statement which Swami is making, right? He's saying, with the power of the formless God, fullness of the power of formless God. Because many times people tend to say that now that the physical form is not there, Swami is more powerful. And how ridiculous that statement could be, because there is the limitation of the form, and form being there and not being there is all in our mind.
Yes.
He is just a continuum of that divinity, right? And what happened when he was physically with us is, I think that's the beautiful thing when the initial points that we were making about the kinship. I mean, imagine if Swami had surrounded himself with only saints and maharishis. People like you and me would have never given ourselves a chance, right? He chose to surround himself with very simple individuals, perhaps good-minded and individuals with having good aspirations. And that gave all of us the opportunity to, aspire for that same proximity, aspire for what Swami was giving all of them. And Swami has had his own agenda, as we can see here, to raise us to that level that truly we are capable of. And I think that's the beautiful thing. When I was just reminded of, he was never less powerful or more powerful. That fullness of power was manifest in that form as it is manifest today in the absence of the form too.
In fact, when we say that, God came for the protection of the sadhus, Swami very clearly says it is not literally the monks or the holy people. It is the sadhutva. That's the goodness that is there in every person. Swami said he has come only to accentuate that. He's come so that whatever goodness is there, all our rajasic qualities, tamasic qualities, he has come so that slowly we move towards the sattva guna. And I think that is why he has not come only for a special group of people. He has come for everyone, because there is that spark of divinity in everyone. Everyone has love in them. As Swami says, there is nobody who is an atheist, but he has just come so that you unlock the beautiful power of God that is there in you. In fact, when you were reading out where Swami is telling that, I have come to correct mankind, I was reminded of one little story. This again happened in the 80s. So there was a very senior devotee who used to look after the stores in Prasanthi Nilayam in those days. And, on work, he has to go to Anantapur on so many occasions to buy the provisions. The earlier version of the Sadhana Trust, the Bhakta Sayak division of the Sadhana Trust. So we had little stores back then. So he would go to Anantapur, and whenever he went, he would tell Swami, take Swami's permission, and he would go. So this was one occasion like that. He had gone, but unfortunately, on the way, he had a terrible accident. And it was a very severe accident. So he could not be immediately brought back. So he was in a hospital in Anantapur. And so while he was there, he was feeling so miserable that, one thing is not able to do Swami's work. He had come on a purpose, and now this tragedy, and Dasara was just another 2-3 weeks away. He was desperate to go back, but the doctor said, no, you have to, there are fractures, we have to put the cast. And Swami was very concerned. Swami sent the secretary, the then secretary of the ashram, to the hospital in Anantapur. And so Swami had sent Vibhuti. So this person gave that Vibhuti. I said, Swami is very, very concerned about you. And, he felt really so good that Swami was thinking of him. Swami immediately sent all this prasadam. And he said, I have a request. Can you take one letter for Swami? I want to write a letter to Swami. So he wrote a letter to Swami, and he said, Swami, I don't know why all this happened. It is my karma and all that. And then he said, Swami, I'm in this hospital. I'm waiting to get discharged. Swami, you are my savior. You are my doctor. Swami, salutations at your lotus feet. Please take me out of this. All that he prayed. And he gave that letter. And he was in the hospital. And then later he got the message that the letter was given to Swami. And Swami read that letter. And Swami said, don't worry. So after the cast and all were put, he was there for a few days. Then he came back to Puttaparthi. So now he was on the wheelchair. And now Dasara was 2 weeks left. And so every day he would come for darshan. And so Swami, on the first day when he came back, Swami asked him, okay, so how are you? He said, Swami, this is the thing. They have put the cast. Swami said, okay, what did the doctor say? So he said, Swami, this is what the doctor said. It will take another 3-4 weeks. It will take 1 month to heal. I said, okay, no problem. Bangaru. Swami blessed him, and Swami went. And he said, he expected Swami will tell him something more. I said, Swami just blessed him. So next day, again, Bhagawan comes in the darshan room. Every day Swami would go to him, Swami would talk to him. And then again Swami asked, so what did the doctor say? And he said, Swami, the doctor said it will take 1 month. I said, okay, no problem. Bangaru, no problem. You're fine. You'll be all right. And the same thing happened on the third day also. Again, the same question. What did the doctor say? I told Swami, doctor said it will take 4 weeks. And now he was like, Swami, Dasara is there. I want to get, why are you not, doing something? I want to get out of this wheelchair. Because he was the one who used to be very active, making all arrangements for Dasara. And the third day also, the same thing happened. And he was very despondent. And when he went back home and, he was speaking to his wife, and his wife thought he's so depressed. What happened? He don't know. I'm not able to understand. Every day Swami is asking me the same question. I've already given him the same reply, but Swami is continuously asking me the same question. Somewhere I am not doing it right. There is a catch. And that is when his wife says, okay, so what did you write to Swami that day when you wrote that letter and he gave it to the secretary of the ashram? He said, I wrote, Swami, this accident happened, and Swami, you are my savior, you are my doctor, Swami. Salutations, Swami, at your lotus feet. And the wife said, tomorrow when Swami comes, just say this. That's all you have to say to Swami. So the next day when Swami comes and Swami asks, what did the doctor say? He immediately catches hold of Swami's hand and says, Swami, please forgive me, Swami, forget what the doctor said. Swami, you are my doctor, you are my savior, you are my doctor. He said, why were you telling that doctor told this, doctor told this, doctor told that? Swami, please, Swami, cure me, Swami. Dasara, I don't want to miss Dasara. I said, you'll be fine. In 1 week, you'll be fine. And that is what happened. He called up the doctors in Anantapur and he said, I want to remove the cast after 3-4 days. He said, no, don't do it. You can't do that. Medically, you are not supposed to do that. Anything happens, we are not responsible. It doesn't matter. So he removed the cast and he was perfectly fine. And he became, he was fine. And he was so happy to be part of the Dasara celebrations. But what I'm saying is, this is how the divine inculcates in us those precious values of surrender, of connecting with the power within. And I think that is what happens when the divine comes in human form. I think many times I feel that, in our spiritual journey, what would have probably taken us 5 janmas or 10 janmas, and Bhagavan comes in a human form, that whole thing gets telescoped. What probably would have taken us 60 years happens in 6 minutes. What probably would have taken us 10 janmas happens in 10 minutes. Because the avatar has come with all his powers. And that is what is the glory of the avatar. And one more very powerful statement where Swami makes in this paragraph as a reply to why God comes down in a human form. Swami says, the Supreme One comes out of his own free will. He comes completely out of his own will, and the Supreme One has no desire. He has no desire except one. The only desire the Supreme One has is to make all of us desireless. That is the only desire. If at all there is any desire of the divine in human form or the divine, the Supreme One, whether form or formless, it is only to make us desireless. And I cannot but think of that very poignant moment. This happened perhaps in the early 50s. One day Professor Kasturi, just very new to Bhagavan, and as he comes inside the ashram, he sees that there is a cloud of gloom everywhere. Everybody is in sorrow, and there is no one on whose face there is a smile. And he goes to the Prasanthi Mandir is just inaugurated in 1950, and he sees that Swami standing there, and everybody is around Swami, and everybody is crying. And so he finds out that the tragedy had happened in Swami's family. Swami's sister's husband had passed away, and Professor Kasturi, he does not know how to react.
How do you console
how
Swami?
to console Swami? Do you say any words of consolation? He has been rehearsing. What do you say to Swami and all that? And finally he goes to that circle where Swami is standing and all of that, and there's nobody speaking. Swami just standing and everybody just crying, and he just continuously thinking, what should I say to Swami? And then Swami looks at him, and Professor Kasturi now started crying, and he thought he will say something to express his words of condolence to Swami. And the moment Swami looks at him, and Swami sees his tears, and Swami says, why all these tears? Why are you crying? What is all these tears? And then Swami says, don't you know me? If there is no birth and death, then how am I to pass my time? If there is no birth and death, how am I to pass my time? Time stands still when we hear these words. And I think that is what happens when an avatar comes. He ensures that all our barriers, our illusions about a worldly life are broken, And that's what Krishna also tells Arjuna, I have come only to break that illusion in you, so that you don't think of me as a human, and you not only realize that I am divine, you also realize that you are also divine. And I think that is the journey of every devotee, and that's what happens when God comes in flesh and blood, isn't it?
Right. So those first few questions were based on Swami's nature, purpose of an avatar, as we're seeing. But then Swami, as a phenomenon, there are a lot of associated miracles. For the lack of any better word, we use the word miracles or mahimas. But there are some certain manifestations of Swami's divinity, which then he speaks about, because as they proverbially say, the elephant in the room, right? You can't speak about Swami and not speak of some of these phenomena that happen around Swami. So he asks a very interesting question, and the answer that Swami gives again is beautiful. He says, your followers in India as well as abroad claim positive evidence of the presence of Baba in their innermost hearts. Some have written of you as their indwelling God. What is the explanation of this phenomenon? And because on one hand, we are saying that Swami is omnipresent, omnipotent, but then there are these manifestations of, something as in the Sai circle, something as simple as Vibhuti manifesting from Swami's photograph, to Swami's presence being felt at very important moments in certain devotees' lives. So Swami says, this is the grace begotten of my love for them, reciprocated by their devotion. Right? Through their devotion, they make me manifest in their own experience. After all, as I repeatedly say, we all belong to the same divine principle. Right? Swami is not straying away from that truth. The godliness which is present in everybody in the form of a little spark exists in me as the full flame.
Full flame.
And it is my mission to develop every little spark of God in everyone to the fullness of the divine flame. The first imperative of this development is that the receiver of the grace also provides from his or her side the devotion necessary to the consummation. Right? When I was reading this, then Swami goes on to say, those who carry the presence of Baba in their hearts like an indwelling God belong to this kind of devotees. It takes me back to a very classic experience, which many of our listeners might know, of the experience of the devotee Phyllis Crystal.
Yes.
Right, during the hijacking which he was part of, 1974. In fact, there's a very famous and documented episode.
Yes.
She says that she was visiting India with her husband. They had darshan of Swami in Whitefield, I think. And then Swami goes to Mumbai during that trip. And so she had the opportunity of having Swami's darshan for the last time in the trip at Dharmakshetra. And Swami calls them for an interview and all that. And you're like extremely delighted with how the whole trip had panned out and how much time they were blessed to spend with Swami and all of that. And they board this flight from British Airways flight from Bombay to London, and it was en route Lebanon, right? But at Beirut, they come to know that certain negative people have gotten into the flight and they've taken the flight into their custody. It has been hijacked. And very quickly, the whole scenario in the flight becomes very tensed because they find that these fellows are armed, they have ammunitions, they have bombs. And added to that, what they do is they collect all the alcohol which was being served in the flight, all the perfume which each one of them had in their carry-on luggage, and they start strewing this all over the plane. The idea is if they blow up the plane, the whole thing will go up in glorious flames, as she writes. And these people have taken everybody into custody and they are all carrying guns with them, threatening to shoot anybody. Their initial plan was to land in Athens in Greece, but they did not get the clearance to land in Athens. So they're still midair. They're still trying to negotiate with some of the European countries because they wanted to have some of their people who belong to their organization to be released from prisons in Europe and all of that. The negotiations were not going well. So they came to a point where they decided that they're just going to blow up the plane. And extremely tense situation. And with all this alcohol strewn all over the plane, one of the hijackers was smoking a cigarette. right? And the husband of this devotee looks at it and says he doesn't even have to willfully blow up the plane. He just has to drop that cigarette by mistake.
Yes.
And all of us will be up in flames. So he turns to his wife and says that, maybe we'll have to reconcile to the fact that we're never going to go back home and see our children again. And she says, for no specific reason, she tells her husband, don't be silly. We're going to get through this and nothing is going to happen to anyone on board. And as she's saying this, she says that I have no reason to say this. I don't know where this confidence is coming from. And she says, don't be so foolish. We are going to survive. And as she's saying this and she doesn't know what to do, she says, okay, at least let me pray to Swami. So she closes her eyes and she pictures that last darshan that she had in Dharmakshetra in Swami's interview room. So she says that she just transports herself to that space in Swami's presence. And in her mind, she is praying to Swami. And she's saying, Baba, 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 please help us, please help us. And she says that in typically my English accent, I'm making this prayer to Swami, saying that Baba, Baba, Baba. I don't know how exactly she was saying it. And she was saying, please help. And in that moment, when she literally felt she was in Swami's presence, she hears an unmistakable voice, which was Swami's, which tells her from within, send love to them. And she says in her head, she replies to Swami, Swami, are you crazy? I said, how can I possibly do that? The people in front of me are probably the most cruel people I've ever seen, who are willing to take the lives of 100 people. Right? And how can I love them? How can I send love to them? And, she's thinking in her mind, Swami, only you are capable of seeing divinity even in such people. And then she tells to herself, I can't give them love. But I know one person who is capable of loving even such people. So let me channel your love to them. Right? So she's sitting there and she's thinking, okay, Swami, I can't give them love. I am taking your love,
Yes.
which is unconditional and which can flow to anyone, and I'm giving it to them. And she says, as she was doing this in her mind, she sees something which is so unexpected. Suddenly she finds that all these hijackers become very, very nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And that one hijacker who was smoking a cigarette, quickly he puts down his cigarette and he puts out the flame. And none of them are able to explain. They all start becoming very nervous and something goes on and they go back into the cabin and there's a conversation that is happening. And eventually they get the permission to land in Amsterdam. And from that moment where they thought that the whole plane is going to be set ablaze, the plane lands and these hijackers ensure that everybody, including the passengers and the crew, leave the plane and then they set the plane on fire. And of course, they all get arrested. There is no plausible explanation why this change of heart happened. Only she knows what happened, because she was seeing it happen in front of her eyes. And she says that they all went back home and later that year, she returns to Bhakti, to Swami's presence to have Swami's darshan. And as Swami was coming towards her, she wanted to express her gratitude for saving their lives. And she gets up and Swami literally pats her down and Swami says, yes, I heard you.
Oh,
Yes.
Swami says, yes, I heard you. And then Swami starts mimicking her voice and her accent. And Swami says, Baba, 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 please save us. Literally, Swami mimics that and everybody is there laughing the way Swami was making that. And, and then Swami says, that is what was the most important thing. And Swami actually tells her what she experienced. Swami says that the entire plane loaded with people was saved because the plane was filled with my love.
Mm.
Right? As a devotee, you invoked my presence and my love,
Yes.
and that filled the plane and saved everybody there. Right? So on one hand, Swami is omnipresent and his divinity is undiminished, whether it is closer to his physical presence or further away or so high up in the skies. But at the same time, there is something with a devotee invoking Swami's presence. Right? That devotee is also as much divine as Swami reminded.
Yes.
But as a devotee, when someone invokes Swami's presence, there is a certain manifestation of that divinity and there is a certain miracle that happens there. That is also undeniable. Right, Swami is saying that also, and that is again an experience that many of us would have felt in our own lives, in our own ways, where we call out to Swami and we feel him more than we would have felt him before the moment we called him.
Very true. I mean, if you look at it, one of the most beautiful aspects of Swami coming in the human form is to be aware that here is the person in front of us and he's the same person who is in our hearts.
Right.
So that conviction that you get that here is Swami who is, I remember in Kodaikanal, Swami was just sitting and talking to everybody, and suddenly Swami looked at one of the boys and Swami asked, what were you thinking just now? And the boy was, and then Swami said, you were thinking how beautiful and wonderful it is to stay with Swami.
Mm.
And I always want to stay with Swami. Isn't that what you were thinking? He just wants to tell you that I am the one, that most powerful formless aspect of divine have taken this form. I am the one as the formless one in your heart, and I am the one with this form in front of you. And that synthesis of both these, form and formless, I think that is the greatest blessing. That is, in a sense, that is how he is raising the consciousness.
In fact, it's reminded of a little interaction that happened just outside Trei Vrindavan many years ago. So Bhagawan was just about to come out, and few students were sitting there, and especially when you know that Swami is going to arrive any moment, you are absolutely silent. Nobody wants to talk because you don't know when the door will open. You want to be ready for that moment. But this brother who was sitting next to him, a very senior elder was sitting, and out of the blue, this elder asked this boy, how do you know that Swami knows everything? And this brother said, sir, it is okay. Swami is antaryami, so Swami knows everything. No, he did not want to actually engage in any conversation because you don't want to be caught talking in as Swami opens his door. But this elder was not willing to let him go. He said, okay, that everybody says that Swami is antaryami, Swami knows everything, but how do you know that Swami knows everything? So he didn't know what to do. He wanted to just say something, to stop the conversation. So he said, sir, Swami is God, sir. That's why Swami knows everything. The elder did not stop. Okay, if he's God, so how does he know everything? So now this person, he thought, his best thing is ask him only to tell, and at least that way we can conclude the conversation. Sir, you please tell. How does Swami know? How does Swami know everything? And then this person says that, see, in your homes, we have this beautiful picture of Vishnu, where Vishnu is having 10 hands, Vishnu is having 10 heads and 20 arms, and all these gods are there in the body of Vishnu. You know what that means? He says, see, when an ant bites your leg, how does your eye know about it? How does your brain know about it? He said, that's because it's the one body, sir. That is what it is. That Vishnu that you are seeing, that is what is the entire cosmos. And because Swami is there as that cosmic consciousness everywhere, he doesn't have to make an effort to know anything. He just like what is happening to every part of your body. That's how he knows everything. And I think that's what Swami is also saying here, where Swami says that he is part of everything at every moment. So for him to create something also, it is not some acquired power. In fact, Swami says, what is Purushottama? Swami says body is Pura, and the essence, that awareness in the body, that is what is Purusha. And Swami says the normal Purusha, because that awareness is there in the body, we call it Purusha. The individualized awareness is the Purusha. The cosmic awareness, the collective awareness, that is what is Purushottama. And that is the journey that Swami wants us to make. And Swami has, as we were discussing, he has his own ways of making us take that journey. And we have seen Bhagawan, making us feel and do stuff so that we learn to tap to that unknown power within. Swami says, when so many people come to me, I give them many things. Why do I give them many things? Why do I cure someone's sickness? Why do I give them a gift? I mean, see, they have come with a particular problem. Now, if I give them vibhuti, if I give them a gift, and if they are getting cured, then they are realizing that there is a higher power. So my whole purpose of giving all these gifts, whether it is vibhuti, whether it is a locket or a chain, it is only that they learn to tune to a power higher, because that is the only way they will connect to their true self, and that is the purpose of the divine, to divinize every person, isn't it?
And I mean, both of you, what you were saying about Swami, choosing every small opportunity to remind you that he is not a deity in front of you, but he is actually you. It's your own self. Initially, we label it as omniscience. Oh, Swami knows everything, or mind reading. Swami knows what's happening in my mind. But eventually, I think we grow to a point where we say that there is no separation between me and him, and that is why for him it is not a knowledge of what is running in your mind, but it is as much as I knowing what is happening in my mind, he knowing what is happening. But at the same time, that journey is so beautiful. One of the students was narrating one time when he was a student in the undergraduate program, Swami sent word that he needs a few students to do some work in the Purnachandra auditorium or something. Swami would often call this for a typical errand which Swami would call them for would be like counting saris just before the Narayan Seva, or that time I think dhotis used to come in a continuous cloth. You have to cut the dhotis and pack them. So one particular work like that Swami had called them, and it was an entire morning session that these students had to be engaged in some kind of exertion, pretty physically exerting work like that. So they had finished everything. And Swami had come before they started the work. Swami gave them the instructions, and then Swami went away for darshan and bhajans and all of that. And then Swami came back. So coming back, Swami said, "Have you finished all the work?" And they all said, "Yes, Swami, have done that." And then playfully, Swami came with a bunch of currency notes in his hand. And Swami said, "What is the labor cost, sir?" Right? Swami said, "What is the labor cost? How much am I supposed to pay you? How many hours have you worked?" And all that. And Swami was counting money like that or something like that and coming to them. And all of these students said, "Swami, no, Swami, please don't do that. Swami, nothing. We are doing it for Swami. It is our work and all that." And Swami smiled, and Swami was very pleased. Swami blessed all of them, gave them Pad Namaskar, and didn't give them money. And Swami went away. So this boy was probably one of the junior most in that group that day. So this was over, and many years later, Swami had called again for some other work inside the Purnachandra auditorium or in the mandir or something, and all of these boys went in and they were doing. So that day, it was, I think, the day before Swami's birthday week, or a day before some festival like that. So Swami came out, and Swami wanted to give some money to the students. So Swami came out and was handing out 500 rupee bill or something like that to each one of the students. And this boy was standing in that line, and he was reminded of this episode that happened many years earlier when the students refused to take money from Swami. And he was in a fix. Am I supposed to accept this or say no? And as Swami came to him, Swami looked at him and Swami said, "No, that was different. This is different." Knowing exactly what was going on in his mind. And Swami said, no, that was different. This is different. And he gave it to him. And as I said, this was a simple thing, which probably that student would have thought, "Oh, Swami knows what is happening in my mind." But then Swami also lifts it to that point of, he being the Purushottama and this body being the Pura, as you beautifully said. There was another student, one of our lecturers, who was in Swami's presence in the interview room. And Swami said, then a questions unte adagandi. He said, "If you have any questions, ask." So this boy said, "Swami, I have a question, Swami." He said, "Swami, when you talk about the Vishwarupa and all of that, Swami is so immense. God is so immense. This world itself, this earth itself is such a speck in this cosmos, and you are the cosmic Lord. And in this small, tiny earth, I am one individual. If I make a prayer to you, will it reach you? And how will it reach you? I mean, the scale seems to be so off. I am so tiny in this whole scheme of things. If I pray to you, will it even reach you?" And Swami went silent. So he thought maybe it's a wrong question and Swami didn't want to answer it or something like that. And he left it and the conversation moved on. Somebody else asked some other question. The next day, Swami came for darshan and Swami called a few students because he wanted to distribute prasadam. So as we all know, Swami would come and stand in the interview room and Swami would call a few boys. They would go inside the interview room and they bring out the prasadam. So I think mangoes or something was being distributed that day. So they all came and put it in the portico. A very typical scene that we all have seen. And few other students will come and pick it up from the portico and start distributing. So this boy was there, in the so much activity happening, passing on the prasadam and all that. So as he was passing on, suddenly he felt a resounding slap on his back. Right? Something nobody would do in the mandir. Right? Playfully it would happen in the hostel or university. But in the mandir, we all would never go away from discipline like that. And this boy turned back with such anger because it was a resounding and painful slap. And he turned back and it was Swami who was standing there. And Swami said, "Oh, you knew that somebody slapped you, is it?" And this boy was rubbing his back and said, "Yes, Swami." "Your eyes are in the front. How did you know that somebody slapped you on your back?" And he said, "Swami, I felt the pain." Right? I don't need eyes to see because I could feel, it's all the connected body. He said, "Because I could feel it, Swami." And Swami said, like that I know when you pray. Right? Because this is a cosmic body and you are one part in that. And when you have a need, it reaches me. Right? And he was saying, what a beautiful spiritual master Swami is. He could have given the same answer the previous day. He waited for 24 hours for this opportunity to play this small prank and give the lesson in a manner where it becomes so memorable, not only for that student, but so many years later we are recalling that and we feel, next time when we pray, we should probably remember that this is how our prayers reach him and that is how he responds.